My wife's last words weren't poetic. No movie line, no final speech. She just looked at me, eyes tired, voice thin, and said, "Cal, stop waiting for the version of me you'll miss." That's what she said. And I nodded like I understood. I didn't. Not until I was alone in our kitchen, 3 weeks after the funeral, holding 2 forks because I'd set the table out of habit. That's when I finally heard her. Too late. Let me confess something. I didn't cheat. I didn't hit her. I didn't leave. I did something quieter. I postponed her. My favorite sentence was 2 words. Not tonight. Not tonight. Not after this email. Not after this project. Not after this week. Not tonight. It sounds harmless. It's not. Her name was Evelyn, Evie to everybody who actually paid attention. We met in '91 at a diner off Route 40 outside St. Louis. Chrome stools, burnt bacon smell, pie under a glass dome. She was in scrubs, hair pinned up with a cheap plastic clip, laughing like she had nowhere else to be. I asked her, trying to sound confident, "What do you want out of life?" She said, "Sunday mornings, a warm house, somebody who comes back to me." I remember thinking, that's easy. We got married October '93, backyard wedding, plywood dance floor. She looked up at me during the slow song and said, "Don't let us get boring." I said, "We won't." We didn't get boring. We got busy. Busy is worse. Busy feels responsible. Busy lets you neglect someone with a clean conscience. I was a project manager for commercial construction. Everything urgent. Everything right now. Phone buzzing before sunrise. Men on job sites calling like the world ends if the rebar is late. Evie taught 2nd grade, then moved to the library when her knees started aching. She was the kind of woman who kept Band-Aids in her purse, the kind who remembered every kid's favorite book. And I loved her. I really did. But love isn't the same as attention. Here's what it looked like. 2007, Tuesday night. Evie made spaghetti and over-salted it like always. She set my bowl down and said, "After dinner, can we sit on the porch? Just 10 minutes. I want to tell you something." My phone buzzed on the table. A subcontractor. I looked at the screen. I looked at her. And I said it. "Not tonight. I've got to handle this." She washed the dishes slow. No music. Just water and plates clinking. I answered emails until midnight. Do you know what she wanted to tell me? She was scared about her age. She wanted to talk about trying for a baby. She wanted us to decide together. I never gave her the porch. So the porch moment died, and the baby conversation died. And little by little, our we started dying too. Relationships don't usually explode. They erode. Another moment. 2014. Her birthday. 50. She wanted a weekend at a little bed and breakfast in Herman. Walk by the river. Drink cheap wine. Buy one of those stupid candles that smell like autumn. She showed me the place on her laptop, excited in that quiet, careful way. And I said, next month, when things calm down. Next month is just not tonight in a nicer suit. Next month didn't happen. We went to Home Depot instead. I bought a drill I didn't need. She bought a candle at the checkout anyway, vanilla and cedar. She lit it in the evenings, and the living room smelled like what we kept postponing. I just thought she liked candles. I didn't see the message. Here's the moment I should have woken up. 2018, January. I came home late, boots dusty, brain still at the job site. Evie was on the couch with a blanket and a library book open on her lap. She patted the cushion next to her and said, "Come here." Just that. Come here. I didn't sit. I stood there, scrolling, half listening, pretending. She started telling me about a little boy who kept coming into the library every day after school because his mom worked double shifts. She was worried about him. She was being Evie. And I sighed. Not a big one, just a tired exhale. She stopped mid-sentence, looked at me like I'd made her feel stupid for caring. She said, "Never mind." I said, "No, tell me." But I said it while my eyes were still on the screen. "Do you hear that?" "No, tell me," while I'm not looking. That's not listening. That's acting. I went to bed and forgot it. She didn't, because she wrote it down. After she died, I found her journal in the bottom drawer of her nightstand, under an old scarf that still smelled like her shampoo. Entry dated January 17th, 2018. One line circled hard enough to tear the paper. I think I'm becoming background noise in my own marriage. Background noise. That's what I made my wife. Then came the illness. It started as fatigue. She'd come home and hold her tea with both hands like it weighed something. Then little words started slipping away. The thing. She'd laugh it off. I laughed too, because laughing is easier than being scared. March 2023, she went to the doctor for what we thought was anemia. I didn't go. I was on a site. Not tonight. Her sister drove her. The diagnosis came back. Ovarian cancer, stage 3. When she told me, she sat on the edge of our bed holding the paper like it was somebody else's life. She said, "So, we're doing this." And I said, "We'll fight it." I said "we" like I'd been present all along. Treatment turned our house into a little pharmacy. Pill bottles by the sink. A calendar on the fridge with appointments in her neat handwriting. She lost her hair. She wore scarves at first, then stopped caring and wore a beanie from the hospital gift shop. And I finally started showing up. Coming home earlier, cooking dinner, sitting with her, holding her hand. And people told me, "You're such a good husband." That compliment makes me sick, because I wasn't a good husband. I was a man sprinting at the finish line. You can't build decades of closeness in a few months of panic. The cruel part is, she noticed. She saw me trying. She didn't punish me. She didn't throw it back in my face. She just looked tired. Not just in her body, in her hope. One night, she couldn't sleep. She was in the recliner because the bed hurt her hips. The house was dark except for the little blue glow from the oxygen machine. I sat on the floor beside her like a kid who'd done something wrong. She said, "Do you remember the porch?" I said, "What porch?" And she smiled, but it wasn't happy. It was resignation. "The night I made spaghetti," she said. "I asked for 10 minutes. I started to explain, because that's what I do. I defend, I justify. And she lifted her hand, just a little. "Don't," she said. "Don't defend it. Just see it." So I shut up. And she said, "I spent years making myself smaller so you wouldn't feel guilty. I stopped asking because watching you choose your phone over me, it made me feel stupid." Then she said it. "Stop waiting for the version of me you'll miss. Because you don't just miss people when they're gone. You miss the chances you had while they were here. The porch, the candle, the hand reaching for you that you didn't take." Hospice is a strange place. Quiet, but not peaceful. Quiet like a house after an argument. It smells like disinfectant and cafeteria coffee. Machines beep like they're trying to be polite about the fact that time is running out. On her last day that she could really talk, I stepped into the hallway to answer a work call. A work call, even then. When I came back, her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. She said, barely above a whisper, "If you have to choose, choose closeness." I said, "I'm here." She turned her head slow, like it hurt, and looked at me. "I know," she said. "I just wish you'd been here earlier." Those were the last words I got that made sense. After that, it was breaths. Her hand in mine, a paper cup of ice chips melting on the tray, the little rise and fall of her chest, and then it didn't rise anymore. Now the world keeps going. My company filled my role like a hole with dirt. The phone still buzzes. But my house? My house is loud with silence. Her mug is still in the cabinet. White ceramic, tiny crack near the handle. Her slippers are still by the back door. Sometimes my brain does this stupid thing where I think, I should tell Evie about this. Then I remember, and it feels like swallowing pennies. So listen. If you love somebody, don't do what I did. Don't become a hero at the funeral. Be a partner on a random Tuesday. Tonight, when they start talking, don't half listen. Don't nod while your eyes flick to a screen. Put your phone in another room. Not face down, not "I'm just checking one thing." Another room. and look at them like they're temporary, because they are. Ask a question that isn't logistics, not "What time's the appointment?" Ask, "What have you been carrying that you haven't told me?" And then shut up long enough to actually hear the answer. If you've been keeping score, burn the scorecard. Scorekeeping is just a fancy way to stay separate. And if they've been asking for something, dancing, a walk, a stupid trip, 10 minutes on a porch, say yes. Not someday, yes. This week. Put it on the calendar like it's a surgery, because for your relationship, it is. And if you're sitting there thinking, "We're fine," careful. "We're fine" is the lullaby people sing while the house quietly burns. Evie didn't leave me. She stayed. She adapted. She got smaller. A lot of people do. They don't scream. They don't slam doors. They just stop reaching. And by the time you notice, you're living with a polite stranger who used to be your person. Then death shows up and hands you a deadline, and you realize you were rich and acted broke. I heard my wife's last words too late. Don't let your person's last words be the first time you finally listen. If this hit you, share it with someone who keeps saying, "Not tonight." Now go choose closeness.